Hey, this is Sasha. Welcome to another episode here on Let's Talk Stocks. And today what we're going to be doing is going over 5 benefits to patience for stock traders and investors. Now, this comes from my book, Mindsets of a Master Stock Trader, which is set to be released very, very soon. I've been working on it very actively over the last year or so. So there's a lot of pages involved. There's a lot of writing involved, a lot of grammar involved into checking everything, making sure it's very, very good. So what we're going to do is cover one of the chapters from that book, and I've really condensed it and shortened it into these 5 benefits. Now, these 5 benefits, there's more than 5 benefits, of course, but this just gives you an idea, some insight to when you're looking to trade and invest into the stock market, why patience is just so important in the stock market. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to cover in today's episode. And if you want to make sure you get notified when this book is released, stay to the end or check the link in the description and get on our newsletter list. So that way you get notified when that book is released. And just check out our website because we have a lot more other trading services, courses, and books out there as well. All right, so let's get started with number 1. And number 1 is that the patience to finding the right stock. If you have the patience to find the right stock and you're patient enough to do your due diligence, you can go ahead and wait and choose the stocks that are most favorable to you. Just like here, you can see, all sorts of different cafes and lattes. Some are black, some are caramel, some are a mix. And if you can choose which one works best for you, just like in the stock market, if you can choose the stock that's the right for you, everybody has a little bit of a different risk tolerance, a little different risk levels, a little bit of a different mix of portfolio that they should be having. And if you can find the right one for you, sometimes being patient allows you to get that. If you jump in really quickly, I just want something to drink, well, that can end up giving you something nasty or something that you really don't like. So in either case, if you have the patience for it, it can really set you up for much better results. All right, number 2 is the patience to waiting for the right setups. So maybe you've already decided, hey, I want this one stock. I'm really interested in getting this stock. However, it's maybe not set up properly. It's kind of like, again, getting a cup of coffee. If you get a cup of coffee and it's not hot, well, you got a little bit too late. If you got it right at the beginning and you start drinking it right away, it's too hot. So there's that fine line of being patient for, the ideal conditions of the right setup in a stock. Sometimes when it's consolidating, sometimes when it's breaking up to the upside, sometimes when it had a large pullback, depending on your risk levels, depending on your strategy, depending on what you're trying to do, there's going to be a different right time for the right setup in that stock. So if you're patient, it's going to allow you to hit that at a better time. You're not always going to hit it perfectly. It just doesn't work out that way in trading. But at least you'll get a better opportunity or be a little bit more towards the appropriate time frame. All right, patience to execute a trade. And I find this happens with people who are just too active to go into a trade and just want to execute it, get into a trade as quick as possible. Sometimes, even if you have the right stock, you have the right setup, now you got to get into the trade. Well, what happens is some people, they just want to go into the trade and they try to do it as quick as possible. They put it in a market order and all of a sudden they pay a huge price between the bid and the ask spread. And the order gets fulfilled for much larger. It's kind of like going in to buy a pair of shoes and you see that shoes are, let's say on average, $50. And all of a sudden you go in and that pair of shoes, you end up paying $75. Well, why did that end up happening? Well, because you didn't get the sales coupon, you were in a rush, you didn't really check the price, they rung it up incorrectly, and all of a sudden you ended up paying much more. So don't just go in and, try to execute and jumpstart things very quickly and get into the trade. Instead, take your time. Take your time to getting into the trade, because now that you've selected the right stock, you went ahead and waited for the right setup. Now, to get into the stock, if you're patient enough, you can get a favorable bid-ask spread and get maybe on the lower end of that or the higher end if you're on the selling side. All right, number 4 is patience to let the trade work for you. So now you might be already in the trade and it's time for that trade to actually do its work. It's time for that trade to do the work that it needs to do. And you can't just get into the trade and get out of the trade 5 minutes later unless you're really hyperactive trader, really fast-paced day trader, or in other words, when you're a high-frequency trader. So most of the time, you need to let the trade do the work. So you have to be into the trade. Some people get out of the trade way earlier than they should. Other times they get out of it way later than they should. Again, there's no perfect timing, but if you're at least more patient, you can let the trade do the work. Sometimes it's through time decay if you're trading options. Other times it's to allow the stock to run if you're doing swing trading. So if you're patient to let the trade work for you, it gives that stock time to run its course. If you're patient to let the trade work for you, it gives the option premium time for it to decay if you're capitalizing from the decay of options. So patience is a big deal to just allowing the trade work for you. And let's look at number 5. And this is our last one, is patience when getting out of the trade. Just the same way that you get into the trade. Some people, they just want to get out of the trade as quick as possible. I got my profits. Be patient. Sometimes you can go ahead and just take off half of your position. So if you're trading 500 shares, you can get out and get rid of 250 shares and let the remaining 250 shares run. And they may continue to run for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months, who knows, depending on the type of trade that you've set up. So being patient, getting out of the trade sometimes can net you much more on your trade and your profits. So that's really the huge advantage when it comes to being patient in trades, is these kinds of things. And of course, there's many more advantages. You just have to open up your mind and just think about it. If you're way too quick to jump on things, sometimes really that's what's causing a little bit of the problem within trading. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful and insightful. And if you did, be sure to get on my newsletter list so that way you can get notified when the book is released. Just click the button over here and enter your name and email address when you get there. Otherwise, if you just want to hang out on YouTube, watch some cool videos, be sure to subscribe, clicking the face icon right here. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.